Here's what I need for Beyond One. It's basically three parts, even though it's just a couple questions for each one. And instead of like building a whole form out, I'm just making all the answers sort of appear in one database. But since I'm basically building the database, there's sort of again three elements. First is, of course, putting the questions in. Second is linking them to the database, and third is correcting the I guess existing code structure for the way that the strips are because we are adding a strip. So just to show you what I did for module one, um, I'll come on down. And maybe I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I even changed that. I think I just sort of made it where it's still 4 out of 4 for the content, but the questions are just a separate area. So that's that. And then once you submit, it takes you back to the original module area. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups a little bit. So anyway, what I did is I just made the questions here. So I pulled them from this here, which I just sent to you. So I'll show you how to do it really simply. If you go to copy, whenever I hit copy, it makes that weird noise, but that's copied. Then I'm going to go down to module 2 and then I'm just going to paste it in, and it kind of went way down there, which is fine. Sorry. I'm on my laptop, so it's a little cumbersome. I can't really drag it all. Okay. And I'm just dragging it all the way down so then I can lock it to the top there. So now I'm just going to change the questions. So module 2, and I'll let you do all that. I am tired. So you just would change that to, yes, no, maybe, and then add the what comes first, chicken or the egg. And they're all pretty much like that, where it's like a selection option and then a description. So all of them should follow the same structure. So I'm not too sure if we should keep it questions 1 and 2 or continue to 3 and 4. Maybe we'll do 3 and 4. And just change the questions out. So again, they have not been changed for 2, but what will happen is if you go to the questions area on the database structures, I added this collection for questions. And so I have module 1, question 1, module 1, question 2. So you can just do module 2, question 3. And they're all text, so you don't have to do anything else. Module 2, question 4. And you can, if you have a second, just maybe do all of them 3, 5, 3, 6, and so on and so forth. So now that we have that column, I'm going to go back to module 2, and I'm just going to click on this and connect it to the data set. So I'm on a new module page, so it doesn't have the data set for questions. So what I do is I create the data set based on the questions collection, and that's it. The values don't have to connect to anything because we want to just type in whatever the ones are for that module. So it would just be yes, no, maybe. And I would recommend taking a second and editing the value too, so that it matches the question as best as possible. It just makes things easier for any coding we might need to do in the future, but not super, super important. Just helps with organization. And again, just same thing for here. We're just going to connect this to, it's already connected to the questions data set. And I'm sorry, we do have to put the value. So this is value M2Q4, and this is value M2Q3. So that way they'll go into the right boxes. And the reason they do is because if you actually look at the settings on this data set, it's right only. So basically what it's saying is that as soon as they put the answer in, it will automatically go into that area. Now, when we get to testing and stuff, and I can do all this, you don't have to worry about it. If you set it up, it's fine. But I will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and sync it once you're done and just publish it. So that way, once you start to actually make the module questions live, they will go into the correct area. So module 1 is done. And module 2, we have started. We've just pulled the same thing over and gotten the questions linked to where they need to go in the database. So that's 1 and 2, step 1 and 2. The next step is to kind of get this code a little bit more organized since we've added a strip. So what I did for module 1 is normally when you get down to the fourth content area, you would go in and you go back to modules. But now we want to do the same thing we were doing before, where we want to open up this next strip. So button 9 is now going to go to open this strip. And basically it's starting off as collapsed so that once you click on this button, I'm so tired, I'm sorry. Once you click on this button, it will open this up and then make it automatically scroll down to this area. So if it's not already, you would click on this, add the on-click, what do you call it? The on-click expression or whatever, event, the on-click event, and then hit enter. And I moved it, sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, and then what you're going to put, and I'm fiddling with some stuff on this, so please don't mind this. I'm actually going to delete this. Because what I'm going to do is I'm trying to make it where when they click it, it automatically puts who the user is in the database, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. So if you can figure that out, awesome. But I'm definitely not tasking you with that, so don't worry about it too much. All right, so I'll work with that later. But all you're going to need to do is make sure that when you have button 9 click and it opens that event, that you just copy these same things down to expand and then scroll down to column strip 7 or whatever the column strip is for the questions. Now, the submit, again, I just copied this down, and before it said end. So now I changed the words to submit. I still linked it back to the modules, but I still had to connect it to data in order to make sure that once these people filled this out and they submitted it, it was connected to the questions data set and it submitted everything into it. Now, I do want to say if there's an issue, I want to let them know. So I did add a failure message and just changed it to that. And then when successful, it just says navigate to a link and choose a link. So we'll choose modules to go back to that home page. And that's it. So that's it, basically. So for module 1, that's what we did. So for module 2, again, I copied this whole strip and I pulled it down to the end. Again, you might have an easier time with it on a desktop, but with a laptop, it's just a little cumbersome. So, and you're out traveling, so hopefully it's not too crazy. But again, I just copied the questions over from the sheet 3 and 4. I changed this. I changed the value, and then I connect it to the database, which prompts me to create the data set, which you don't really have to do anything on because it's automatically set to write only, which you're good for. And then again, taking that field, connecting it to value M2Q3, which I thought I had done, so kind of weird. And then M2Q4. And I'll publish that. I don't know what I did. I synced it on the back end before I published it, so it didn't quite stick. So that should still be there now. And everything's good to go. I must have changed something with the data set. I don't know, but they're back. So that's all that matters. And again, just changing the submit here to say submit. And previously I'd copied this end thing. So what you would want to do is make sure that the last one just says next still. And, you know, honestly, as we move forward with this, we can call that questions and then call this submit and go back or something like that. So it's a little bit more clear, but for now, let's just kind of keep it moving. So we'll just say that's next. And then what you're going to do is, again, on click, turn that on, and it gives you this area here. And again, I'm just going to copy the one that says expand and scroll to. And it's automatically collapsed because that's one you just copied from before. All right, and then this is strip 8. Okay, and that's it. And submit here should go back to modules. But again, you have to link it to the database as a submit button. You can add a failure message, and what'll happen is this is what happens. It'll make its own one up here. So you can just copy this text and delete it because that's not really linked to anything, and then just replace it. Or leave it as it was. I do not care what it says, as long as it's just letting them know there's an error. And so submit, again, that connect to database, add a failure message. When successful, go to a link. The link is modules. And that's it. So it's a few steps, but the first two are done for you, all except for copying over the verbiage. So copy the verbiage for 2, and then literally just copy and chunk down the code from something else to make sure that it works fine. And there you have it. Sorry, it's like 13 minutes for maybe 2 minutes of actual steps, but if you have any questions at all, please call or text. If you can't knock this out tonight, just let me know. And I'll let them know, but they're definitely were expecting it today, but I've just, there's no way I could have knocked this out. I'm done. So if you can do it, great. If not, just let me know, and I'll sort of corral with them in the morning to let them know. But either way, go for it. Really appreciate your help, buddy. I'll see you later.